awfully close. I think next week will be the time that I announce it, and I have some other big announcements coming up today and actually tomorrow. But we've been met with, you know, really very good reviews of the people that I've chosen.
That was Donald Trump raising his picks on the Today Show earlier. You also heard earlier about the new ambassador to China. We've been talking about that here, and the defense secretary. Okay, but what about the Secretary of State? Julian, to you. I mean, when you look at the composition of this, it is clear this is the position they're having the hardest time with, clearly, because it is arguably the most important one.
Well, they're either having a hard time or they are making a show of this to create a drama and to attract attention and to suggest that there's going to be more diversity in the foreign policy views than there otherwise might be. It is true, though, that diplomacy is not going to be a strong suit of Donald Trump, of President-elect Trump. And it's one area where I do think they are trying to figure out who will be this point person. He has surrounded himself with pretty hawkish voices, frankly. So this is an outlier. But I think a lot of this is really to create an apprentice-like drama over this, which works. He understands the media, and here we are.
You know, given our experience so far, if you had to bet, you might want to bet on General Petraeus. What is the most common first name of the people that we've gotten so far? Right? We've got General Flynn, General Mattis, right? In fact, we've even got General Pruitt, the former Attorney General of Oklahoma,
and now General
at the EPA,
Kelly.
and General Kelly as well. I mean, parents, name your children General.
They're sure to get into cabinet. Hank, when you look at this kind of a transition, though, and we are, as I said to you before, it's generals and it's billionaires. How does a piece like the Secretary of State fit in there? I mean, who do you think would be that great compromise candidate?
The Wall Street Journal had a very important editorial last week talking about his picks for commerce and treasury, and certainly the mouthpiece of capitalism. Look at those two important positions, especially with our present problems with China. I mean, Kissinger says we're this close to war, and I would tend to listen to him. When you look at those picks, they're substandard, according to the Wall Street Journal. I didn't say that. The Republicans said it. So, you know, what can he do as Secretary of State? He's got to find somebody that the Republicans won't be upset about. And he's played to both the Republican elites as well as the you know, kind of eat-em-up Republicans. So who's the guy they pick? I wouldn't be surprised if it was Corker, the U.S. Senator from Tennessee, as a compromise to put his base to sleep, because that's what he's used all these appointments for.
Harlan, in terms of his picks, we have General John Kelly as well, Homeland Security right now on the table. CNN just confirming that. I mean, look, this is a guy who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience doing that. Homeland Security, that's it. Most of it is, quite frankly, involved in Southern Command. This is a guy who really wants to be tough on the border situation, and he disagreed with President Barack Obama on a lot of those issues. What does the character of that tell us?
Well, I think that border security is national security. And I think that from this pick, I think that that's how I'm interpreting it. But taking a step back to the Secretary of State, this is arguably the most important pick that he's going to make, because he has zero foreign policy experience. And if you look at who he has surrounded himself with, who his top advisors are, they have zero foreign policy experience. And so he needs somebody that he can trust to outsource this to, somebody that has experience. That's not somebody like Mitt Romney. Even if you put aside the criticisms that that Mitt has levied against Donald Trump, Mitt's not a good pick. He doesn't have the experience. I think somebody like General Petraeus probably does.
Well, let's remember, the Secretary of State might not have as much influence as people think. The National Security Advisor can be very influential in a centralized White House. That's what happened with Kissinger, and that's what happened with Nixon. And I suspect with Mike Flynn having the ear of the president, that might overwhelm anything.
Scary.
By the way, it's a bipartisan issue. If you look at the Carter administration, the same issues. Right. So this is not new. Yeah. Who that person is will probably be overridden, my hunch, by the generals. And my bet is it won't be a general.
Ellis, General Flynn's a Democrat. You should like him.
Stick with the general, seriously. This is going to look like a military government.
We haven't had anything like this probably since the appointment of Bedell Smith right after the Second World War to create the national security institutions which have functioned to this moment. And that wasn't great, and it didn't work out very well.
Hank remembers that. I don't remember.
No, I remember history. I read a lot of history. That's a problem.
Okay.
Maybe you guys are right. Maybe the list needs to be longer. I'm scared just listening to you guys about that position. I mean, let's face it. When you look at people talking about the risk happening to be right now in North Korea, you're saying he doesn't have anyone in his circle right now who's going to give him good advice on that?
You know, and if he found him, I'm not sure he'd listen. We haven't seen that yet.
I do think, look, even though someone like Mattis is known for speaking his mind and pushing back on issues like torture, he still comes from a pretty hawkish perspective if you look at his statements on Iran, and that's where the advice is going to push. That's what you get when you surround yourself with military
Sorry,
figures.
got to call time. Hank, we will have you back for that thought, that's for sure. Julian, Ellis, Harlan, and Hank, thank you very much. There are 44 days until the presidential election, and that is State of America tonight. The news continues right here on CNN.